Hey guys, we're back at the end of March and we're back for Real World Real Estate. Brendan and I have had a super busy couple of months leading up to this. It's the end of financial year, so for us it's a busy time in real estate. That's sort of end of January to April's, when a lot of houses are coming to the market because the weather's good, everyone's positive, and we're all working really hard out there at the moment. So what's been happening, Brendan?
Yeah, well, it's been great. We've had a few questions after the last one, so thanks very much for that. So we look forward to getting into that. So today we're going to talk about a bit of a state of play, state of the market and where things are at, and plus answer a few questions as well, Cam. So what's happening out there?
Look, I reckon it's a little bit like we touched on last time. It's just come off a bird market into a normal market. Some of the stats we're starting to see, one of the changes from when we did our last podcast is we're actually starting to see the stats evolving at the moment because we can talk about it and compare it to last year. So, for example, Harcourt's in February, they announced that the volumes have really changed from where they were last year. So the volumes have come back. So that's the number of houses that have been sold have dropped back to sort of comparable to 2018, 2019 prices and volumes, which is kind of pre-COVID. It certainly wasn't a bad time in real estate, but it's different to what it was the last couple of years, probably.
Yeah, that's right, Cam. And we're seeing a real wide range of buyers out there, aren't we? Because people are saying to us, who's buying? But to me and what we're seeing buyers right from first home buyers right through to the high end, aren't we?
Yeah. I think the whole market's moving. There's no particular part of the market that's moving better than other parts. What we are seeing that as soon as prices are right, the buyers come. So one of the things we're working on as agents at the moment is trying to educate owners on what their property's worth, because it's really interesting. We meet people every day in real estate talking about their houses, appraising their houses, trying to give them, some valuable information so they can make good decisions. About 50% of the people that we meet, if the house is worth this, about 50% want this, and the other 50% want this. So you've got to be really careful that you're not underselling the property out there, and that's why I think the process is becoming more and more important on what's involved from a really good real estate agent. I had somebody ring me up the other day. They were ringing about one of our properties that we were selling, and they were pretty excited on the phone because they'd sold the house within one day. And I thought, well, that's a bit of a shame, because more than likely you've undersold it. If you put a process around it and create a bit of competition, I would have put money on the fact that they would have got maybe some more money.
That's right, Cam. We get asked a lot, every appraisal we go to, auctions, is the auction process the way to go? Yeah. And when we talk about, protecting your price or being educated on the market price, the process of an auction is good for that, isn't it? So, what's your answer to that? Is auction the way to go?
Well, we're still doing a lot of auctions. We had, between us, we had 5 auctions yesterday. Yep. We sold all 5 of them under the hammer on the day. Mm-hmm. Several of them had multiple bidders, and we saw competition in the room and sold for what we describe as some wonderful prices. They ranged in value from about $550,000 through to around $3 million, and they were all different areas of Christchurch. So it gave us a real barometer, and I always like to say you and I are barometers of the market because we are selling property all over Canterbury, essentially. So we did a rural property yesterday, which is a really good one. And we're selling them in all different price ranges. And there's no part of the market that's working better than others. But what we are seeing the difference is that buyers are a little bit more educated. They're more fussy on what they buy and what they pay. Mm-hmm. And they're kind of looking for the perfect house at the perfect price. The last couple of years, they're prepared to compromise. This year, there's probably no compromise. But there's still plenty of buyers out there.
Yeah, there are. And they're motivated to purchase, aren't they? Latest story we had when it comes to getting the price right. Queen's Ave was a good story there. Multi-offer.
So that's a property that was on the market before Christmas. And just as the market started to come back in Christchurch, we were just chasing the market down. So last year it would have got quite a little bit more. And as soon as we got the price right this year, we actually sold it in a 3-way multi-offer. So it just shows you, like I said before, once you get the price right, the buyers come.
Yeah, that's right. And really interesting to see developers coming back into the market, Cam. And, we discussed this this morning. We discuss it most days, but what it seems like is the pressure on the land prices or the build costs have forced the land prices to come back. Everyone was sort of jumping out of the market and waiting, and now it's viable.
Yeah, I think we're seeing some real world examples out there. One of the properties we just sold was in Fendalton. It was 1,200 square metres of land, so could be a beautiful 1-house site or maybe a 2-house site. We sold that in the peak of the market, and you know what? When we sold it, we thought we were going to get maybe 2.2 for it. And we actually sold it for 2.55 million. So it was hundreds of thousands of dollars more than what we thought we'd get. And there was 6 or 7 bidders in the room to buy it. So that was about 18 months ago. We put the property on the market again because the situation changed for the particular developer that bought it. And we took it back to the market. After 4 months on the market with very little interest, we eventually got the price down to where it needed to be. And we sold it. What do we sell that for?
At 2,175. We sold that, and it was viable. You could do it. You could build 2 houses on it, and the numbers worked for a developer to on-sell it or build one great house.
Yeah. So the land in the last year, we haven't been doing a lot of land sales, but in the last 3 or 4 months, we've started to see the land moving again. And 2 things with that is prices have come back to where it starts to work. I think we were talking to a developer client of ours yesterday, and he gave us a little bit of insight on what's happening out there in the building world.
Yeah.
And you know this too, Brendan, because you're involved in some own building of yourself. You're doing townhouses and bits and pieces like that. So we're seeing that the delays that were there are starting to ease up.
They are.
And it's a lot more smoother building and developing at the moment. One of our other clients, we just sold their house this week for what would have been probably a mainstream build.
That's right. Yeah.
Should have taken, 6 months?
Yeah, it should have. And it was a year-long process due to supply of bricks, even just getting a bricklayer on site. Yeah. Just multiple delays, time and time again. So it stretched the whole process out. And you can imagine funding that as well. So that just compounds the cost to get finished. And that should have been a 6-month build. But they're just starting to see that tradies are turning up on time. Their price relief, I suppose it's stabilised the prices a little bit. Even one of our developments, we repriced Frame and Truss only a matter of a month or 2 ago. And what we found is we got a better price than what we had actually penciled in or had priced 6 months before that. So there is some relief out there, and which is just going to stabilise that, isn't it?
Well, I think that's exciting because I love a market where things are stable.
Yeah.
And I think that's the sort of market we're going to head into very quickly within Christchurch, whether it be the real estate market or the building development market, is that people will make more decisions in a market where they know that there's not going to be the cost increases. Like it's really hard to factor in and build a house when you think the prices might go up 30% within a year.
That's right.
But also if it's going to take you twice as long as what it should to build, I mean, why do it? But if these things stable out, there'll be more people coming back into building their own houses, and then we'll get the land moving again, which is what we're seeing.
Well, it's certainty and consistency, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like all of us, things change, and once they've changed, if they stabilise, like interest rates, you can plan. And from that moment, excuse me, you carry on, don't you? And I suppose that's what we're seeing out there with buyers, aren't we? They sort of know where they're at, so they're coming back in to buy. And as long as the price is fair, then they're buying.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that we are seeing out there is even if you haven't got your eye on the housing market, you can actually see, without looking too hard, that prices have changed.
Yeah, that's right.
Like a really good example is a house that probably would have been worth about $850 last year, maybe August last year, and at the moment they're probably selling for about $760, $780 sort of range. So any buyer can see that, and even if prices maybe come back a little bit more, it's exciting for them to buy a house that was, potentially they would have had to pay another $70,000 or $80,000 for. So it's that 10 to 15% of value that I think has come back.
Yeah, that's fair to say.
So from a buyer's point of view, yes, interest rates have gone up, and their mortgage is going to cost them a little bit more. But when you think about it, they're actually paying $70,000 less for the same house.
Yeah.
So it probably offsets it quite a lot. I don't know what interest rates are going to do over the next year. I don't think they're going to start coming back. But we are starting to see some competition with the banks, starting to compete. There was an article and stuff, I think, a couple of weeks ago where some people went to the BNZ, I think it was, and they managed to get about 1% off the advertised rate. So that's really exciting because remember, banks don't make any money unless they're lending. Yeah. And with the volumes coming back, they're not lending as much money as what they were the last few years. So they're starting to have to compete to get business, which is really exciting.
Yeah, it is exciting, isn't it? So another good question for us. Should I buy first or sell first? So we get that each time. Downsizers ask it a lot. But also generally, what's the best thing to do? I mean, we've got a pretty strong opinion on that.
Yeah.
What's the safest and the best way to go, do you think?
Look, I'm pretty risk adverse. I like to sell first and know exactly what I've got to spend. If you're trying to sell, an $800,000 house and you only get $750, you've got to cut your floss to suit. Alternatively, if you sell your $800,000 house and get $850, then you might be able to buy yourself into the next price bracket when you go and buy. So I think it comes back to what you said before, certainty.
Yeah.
Take the certainty of what you've got and then cut your floss to suit.
Yeah.
It's not the market where you take risks. There's a few people we've seen, quite bullish in this market, and they go buy something thinking that their property's worth a certain amount, and maybe they don't get that, and then the gap that they're buying from gets a bit bigger, and that's when it really starts to hurt.
Yeah.
I think having the right advisors around you in this time is really important. I think that the right agent in this market is really valuable because they'll give you good education on what your property's worth before you take it to the market.
Yeah.
Because that's where it can go wrong. There's a lot of agents out there that will tell you what you want to hear rather than what you need to know, and that's what we're seeing out there at the moment. There's a lot of people listing property but not selling at the other end, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I mean, you don't want to go into a situation with high expectations, only to be, I suppose, whittled down over months. You've got to go in there with a realistic goal, realistic expectations at the end of the day.
There's a great saying that time paints property.
Yeah.
The longer you take to sell your house, the less money you can get. So, being realistic in the process right from day one is really, really important because it'll mean money in your back pocket.
Yeah, will do. So we've covered that. Another big question for us, Cam, timing. Right now, is it a good time to sell? A good time to get go to the next stage, upgrade or downgrade? I mean, I think it's a good time to get back into the market, is it?
Yeah.
Even as an investor.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's no better time than when you're ready.
Yeah.
Like if you're an investor, you're buying property less than what you would have paid last year. I think be careful what sort of properties you buy and be careful what you pay for them if you're an investor. We are starting to see people burnt. Starting to see people that have bought property a year or so ago and struggling to get back what they paid for it.
Yeah.
And people bought them with the idea that they're going to flick them on and make some money in a year's time. And it's just not happening out there at the moment. And with interest rates going up, there's a lot of people that have bought property thinking that they can afford them and they maybe can't at the moment. So they're coming back on the market to sell.
Yeah.
So what we're really seeing is buy the right property, like work out what you're trying to do with your portfolio in the long term, because people look 6 months or a year ahead, but really you should be looking 10 years ahead and working out what you're doing with that. So I think speak to some really good people, like talk to accountants and talk to real estate agents and talk to lawyers and all of your advisors, and try and build up an idea of what people think you should be buying. Yeah. Because every property's right within its own respect, but it's got to be right for you.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
What do you?
I'm. There's been some real confident boosters, I suppose, in the last month or two. If we go back to, say, the high-end market, we saw quite a big shift down with prices at the end of last year, didn't we?
Yeah.
What we've seen in the last couple of months is we've seen some really good sales, haven't we? So if you look at sort of that mid to high two, right through into the $4 million mark, there's been some really good sales just in the last 6 to 8 weeks. Going to an auction today, and that'll be another good sale for that Maryvale Fendleton area. And even stretching out to the Prebbletons and the city fringe area as well. Yeah. I'm pretty encouraged by that, Cam. It seems to be a little bit of confidence out there, or that's part of the market that is less affected, with interest rates and stuff like that. You think?
Well, I mean, I still think 60% of the people out there don't care what the market's doing.
Yeah.
Like they're buying and selling, and really they don't get as much for their house as what they would have got a year ago, but the house that they pick up is the same. So their changeover doesn't move, even though prices have come back a little bit. It's just getting you keep around the fact that, your $1 million house may be 900 in this market, but the house that you go and buy will be a little bit less as well. So 60% of the people like that. Probably 20% of the people out there are first home buyers. I actually think they're starting to move at the moment, because there was probably a little bit of holdback before Christmas last year. But at the moment, you don't have to be a rocket scientist, as I said, to see the prices have come back. So it's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
And suddenly, investors are slowly coming back into the market now, because the interest rates are starting to stabilise a little bit. and prices have come back, so it starts to make sense again for investors to get back in the market. And there's a bit more opportunity out there. If you're cashed up as a buyer at the moment, you know, you're not going to an auction and having 6 people there, you know, 13 people there, which some of their auctions were last year. You know, you might go along and have 2 or 3 people that you've got to bid against. I mean, going back to the auction question, we probably didn't answer that properly. So, I mean, auction, there is questions about it every week that we get. Should we be auctioning? Should we be doing deadline? Hey, what's the best way to get the best price? You and I are big auction advocates. One of the reasons I think auction's so good is it puts confidence back into the buyer's mind. You know, I think that the deadline sale process, I think it's very analytical. I think that when we go and sit down with husband and wife, they've already got a preconceived idea of what they want to pay. And it's really hard to move them. You know, they've had the big chat before we got there. We're not going to pay any more than that, and that's what it is. So when we leave from a deadline sale, it's very analytical. And from my experience, when you give people an opportunity to put conditions and clauses in a contract, they always will. They're trying to protect themselves. There's a bit of people, there's a few examples of people putting offers on property at the moment, and they tie it up for 10 days, and then what do they do for the next 10 days?
Trying to find another one, something better.
Shopping around and see if they can find a better house at a better price. You know what they do? If they find one, they cancel the first contract. They pull the pin on whatever reason. So it's just an opportunity. One of the beautiful things with auction is unconditionally sold. You can deal with a certainty. But I think from a buyer's point of view, if we can put confidence back into the marketplace, which is what I think auction does, it helps the whole process. Because someone comes along with the preconceived idea of spending $1 million, John Smith standing across the room from them that they can see, pays $1,025,000. If you can afford to pay $1,050,000, you probably will. So people don't care, I think, from all my time in real estate, they don't really care what they pay. They just want to pay what it's worth. And when it's open and transparent, like an auction room, that's why people can see and take confidence in the property and will pay more if they can afford it.
And well, I got first-hand experience of that. You know, we were buying with a business partner an investment property and to develop the land. And I think I'm pretty staunch on once we have a number, we have a number. But long story short, we're in the auction room, someone else is bidding, and we're still bidding 60 grand over what our absolute cut-off price is. And that's because we sort of wanted it, and we could see that the value was there. Someone else thought it was worth that. So then we thought, well, if they think it's worth that for us too, and we can make it work. So you just get pulled into it.
You shouldn't need any more explaining than that, because if it's going to make Brendan pay 60 grand for a property, then it's got to be a pretty good process.
That's right. It must be a great process. So it should give you confidence. Next thing, another good question for us. One thing that you probably hear a lot, I hear it a bit, when it comes to us as agents, you know, do we do our own open homes? I think there's a bit of a thing out there that they think that, you know, it's rock and roll real estate, and you sign up the listings and then you don't go back to the house again and somebody else sells it for you. Cam, we know that that's not true. We're probably a couple of the hardest working agents in the city. What's your answer to that?
But we love open homes. We've built businesses off open homes. Personally, I do about 18 a weekend. So I'm still working Saturdays and Sundays. You know, and I'm doing 18 open homes a weekend. So we literally go from house to house.
We do.
And I just think open homes are the most wonderful way to sell a property. So the answer to that is we're doing plenty of open homes because we believe in them. We think that they are the best way to meet buyers and to get people through your property. We do a lot of private viewings as well, but we're doing a lot of open homes over the weekend.
So I mean, from a team point of view, we have a wonderful structure around us. We've got 3 really awesome PAs. Sam, Nicola, and Lisa. They support us, and there's 4 of us agents, isn't there? There's you and I, and Charlie and Catherine. We're 7 days a week.
So we just focused on the selling side of it. We don't get tied up with all the admin and all that sort of stuff that we're not good at. So we really play to our strengths. We just want to be involved in listings, sales, buyers, showing people through houses, all kind of the fun parts of real estate that, you know, we want to spend our time on. So that's why we can sell so many houses, because we just focused on the selling side of it, and all of the admin stuff gets wonderfully taken care of us for the girls that
for sure
are really our bosses, and they make sure that all the advertising and all of the paperwork behind it's all done. So we can focus on what we're really good at and what's really important. You know, I think it's, you know, some of the biggest building companies in town, you know, they're building lots of houses every year, but the directors of the company aren't hammering the nails in. I think it's a really good analogy. You've got to do the important parts of your job to the best of your ability. And that's what we're trying to do. We're playing to our strengths.
That's right. Finishing up, what are we probably finishing shot, parting shot today?
Yeah, I think that, I mean, what have we got to look forward to this year? I think it's
that's a good question.
You know, one of the things I'm finding in real estate is we're all, you know, I quite like this market of real estate. I think we're not as busy as what we were last year. I'd describe this as being steady.
Yeah.
Last year, the year before, we were pretty frantic, you know. I remember doing, you know, 7 or 10 auctions week in, week out.
Yeah.
And at the moment, we're probably averaging 3 or 4 a week. So we're well within capacity, which is great, because we're actually having to focus a little bit more and put a little bit more time into each sale at the moment, because there's a lot more care around the sales. And I think that's a lovely change because we're not feeling so busy. And it's nice to be able to spend a bit more time with owners, things like that. I think people love talking about real estate at the moment because it's sort of on everyone's lips. They want to know what's happening in the marketplace. I went to someone's house the other night and I was appraising their property, and, you know, 2.5 hours later I left because we were just talking about real estate and about property and about life. And I found it really exciting because, you know, as I've said before, in real estate, we often meet people at these wonderful times in their life, and sometimes not so good times. But, you know, they're often excited because they're getting married or they're moving or they're upsizing or, you know,
first home buyers.
Yeah, first home buyers. You know, we sold a house yesterday to some people in Eddington, and they were solicitors buying the property, and they were so excited. They worked through everything with this property for 3 weeks to be the winning bidders on the day, and to see them really excited about buying their first home is pretty cool, you know.
Yeah, it's great.
So this is what I think that the market's going to involve for us this year. We're going to be working harder and longer on every sale. There won't be as many of them, but probably you know, for us, I love the skill involved at the moment.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of people. One of the lines I've got is, when the tide goes out, you can see who's wearing togs.
Yep.
You know, there's a lot of agents in the marketplace at the moment that are there taking selfies and looking like they're busy, but the results aren't stacking up. So there's a real art in the moment in selling houses, because it's not just about fronting up to an open home and taking an order.
Yeah.
It's about appraising the property at the right level, market it in the right way, saying everything to the buyers in the right way, because as agents, the only thing we're armed with is our words.
Yes.
You and I talk about this all the time. If we say the wrong things to a buyer, it's going to cost that particular seller money or the buyer. I've had a few examples where I've been dealing with other agents and they've actually said the wrong things to my buyer, and I've had to try and pull these buyers back into the property. So, you know, it's really, really important what we say to people at the moment, because you can knock 50 grand off by saying 5 words.
Yeah, that's right, Cam. And the other thing probably for us all to remember too is we're coming off a boom. You know, it's agents that give us a call. We get lots of questions from other agents.
Yeah.
We've got buyers and people back in the market, you know, asking us about, you know, the market's crashing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, we have to remember we're coming off a boom, right? So going forward for this year, I think that's a really good thing to sort of ground yourself in a way. I mean, every day I think about it and all the questions we get asked, and I say, well, you know, we're kind of returning back to real estate, like real world real estate, if you like. You've got to do the right things, as you say, but I think that's important going forward, and it should give you confidence that, you know, you're going back into a normal market and slightly weighted to the buyers, and that's probably more about attitude and a bit of fear of the future, more so than anything else. But we're in a nice steady market, would you say? You know, I think that's a good way to
right describe it. I mean, I think we're steady. It's stabilising.
Yeah.
I don't think the Christchurch market's doom and gloom what the media says it is. It's certainly come back. There's no doubt about that. And it might come back a little bit more. You know, you go down a big rabbit hole when you look at what's happening in the world with the banks in America and all that sort of stuff. But, you know, Christchurch in particular is doing really well at the moment. I've got some friends of mine that do real estate up in, you know, Auckland and Wellington, and it's pretty brutal up there.
Yeah.
You know? From the sounds of it, you know, they're selling. Talked to someone the other day, and they're selling houses for $400,000 and $600,000 less than what people paid for them a couple of years ago. So it's pretty challenging when you're having to do those sort of things. We're not seeing that in Christchurch at the moment, not to those depths, but we're seeing prices come back. It's an exciting market to get into real estate as well. It's funny because as the market's got tougher globally, I had someone from Australia approached me during the week to and for advice and to talk to their office in Australia about what we're doing over here, because they see that we're still backing results up and sales up, even though our prices are coming back. So there's a thirst for agents out there to surround themselves with people that are doing the business.
Yeah.
We've talked about work and business and that a bit, Brendan. You and I are meant to be getting a bit more balance in our life. So, I mean, what are you doing off the field at the moment? I did hear a rumor that you did the race last week. And
we did the race. Yeah, so did Josh. Yeah, he kicked my ass.
What you guys don't know is Brendan's a super athlete.
No, it was.
When it comes to running, riding, and just general fitness, he's like a weapon.
We like to do something every day, and it was a special weekend for me because my daughter, Charlie, she's 17, and she raced the race, and that's her first sort of major event, if you like. So for me, it was quite a proud moment, helping her get to the line. And I've always, the way I operate at the moment, I kind of got this, I still think I'm 17, 18. So I line up next to like Josh here and think that I can keep up. So soon got told that I am 51 now. So takes me a bit longer to get over to Akara. But my special moment was seeing my daughter come in with a massive smile on her face. Her and her mate, Zoe, they did such a wonderful ride, and they were just so pumped at the end of it. And I think that was a special moment for me, Cam. Yeah, pretty proud of that. So, she's really pushing hard in a sport that I love. So it even makes it more special. Yeah. How about you, Cam? I think you're the one that's meant to be, trying to get a bit more balance than I am.
Yeah, I mean, we've enjoyed moving into our new house, and we've still got some renovations and an extension going on. So we're living in a building site, which has been a challenge, but been good. It's kind of like a first world problem, but the driveway goes down in a couple of weeks' time. So I look forward to, the garage has been finished, and I love cars, as everyone knows. So I've got a special car coming soon, so that's going to be really nice. And the girls, Addison's into horse riding at the moment, so we're watching her horse riding, and she just loves it. I'm loving seeing the kids passionate a little bit. When you see them pick up something that they really love and they're excited about doing, it's pretty special. But for us, we're just enjoying being in this house and spending lots of money doing it up. So I'm looking forward to that finishing, because
is that why we're working so hard this month?
Yeah, it must be. Like it gave me a newfound respect for build costs and what everything costs, because you hear all these things with people mentioning how much build costs have gone up, but when you really start to pay for tiles and pay for bathrooms and pay for kitchens and pay for builders to come around, it's really, really expensive. So, but I think the good thing is that, we've all found with COVID and things like that, we've all got a newfound respect and love for houses. That people, this is what I love about real estate, is you get to live in one of your most valuable assets, and people can see after COVID the value in having a house that you're proud of and a house that you enjoy living in. And I know a lot of people after COVID who've been locked up for a few months, they redid their bathrooms, or they redid their kitchen so they can be comfortable and feels like a hotel or whatever it is. So, I think for me, I'm trying to ease back a little bit. I've cut back on the gym because I was really into that, train every day, get up at 5 a.m, and I'm sort of trying to ease back a little bit. I've been exploring doing a bit of stretching, which is unusual for me because
that is unusual.
Rip into the gym,
but good.
Don't I don't warm down and I don't stretch, and now I'm getting into my 40s. I've got a few sore shoulders and sore backs, and I just can't perform a bit like Brendan, like I was 18 or 25 again. So I'm actually looking forward to get into stretching. I've got back into breath work, so Wim Hof breath work and cold plunges. I've been doing that, and I'm loving the mind side of you know, of fitness, because I think like everyone focuses so much on a fit body, and they all want abs and pecs and muscles, and we spend hours every week going to the gym. I'm actually trying to spend hours every week working on my mind, and that's doing things like breath work and cold plunging and meditation and things like that, and I'm really enjoying that side of it at the moment. So I'm trying to work my brain out a bit more than trying to work my body out.
No, that's good. Yeah, it would be good to see. Yeah, I try to do something every day myself. Yeah, I'm getting into
podcasts. We talk a lot about podcasts, you know, you and I, we love listening to. Brendan loves David Goggins.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Brendan's the David Goggins. So
really good mindset message in that.
Yeah. So like we're always listening to podcasts, and whether they be business or they be health. You know, I like Joe Rogan. I like that sort of stuff. So
Joe Rogan likes David Goggins too.
Yeah. So all of that sort of stuff, I think I'm trying to have a little bit of downtime, but trying to work on myself. There's a great saying, you've got to put your own face mask on first, and if you grow yourself, then you'll grow people around you as well. Yeah. So just trying to educate yourself.
Yeah, that's good.
Hey, thanks for this. I mean, it's been great to have you here, Brendan. Thanks, Josh, for doing this. We look forward to seeing you maybe next month. We'll be through the financial year then, so we might have some results for you of, you know, what's going on in the market and what we've done compared to the previous year. But we love doing these, but we love your questions. So your questions roll in, DM Brendan. He loves a good DM. So or just email us or message us, but we'd love to answer your questions and make these sessions really valuable. We don't just want to talk about real estate, do we?
No, we don't. Any questions, even if maybe about structure. I mean, we're big ones for structure, and I certainly have a 5 a.m. alarm goes off, I'm out of bed, no matter how I'm kind of feeling, but that works for me. So if you've got some questions, just how to structure your life and what we've done to actually be consistent in that, just fire us a message.
Yeah,
have it answer it.
We'd love to talk to you. Cheers.